All right, folks, good morning. I'm Lieutenant Jim Phillips from the Special Operations Section. I have the distinct and honorable pleasure to oversee the K-9 unit. And on behalf of my command, Major Passman, Captain Urbis, I'd like to welcome you to this graduation. I'll throw a little warning to you. The K-9 guys are not usually used to all this pomp and circumstance. We're usually pretty low-key, and this is way above what they're used to. So with that being said, we'll get started right away. I'd like to introduce the Chief of Police, Chief Tim Tamari. Morning, all. County Executive Steve Shue. Morning. Chief, if you'd like to come up and say a few words, please.
Okay. First and foremost, I think it's important to note that the governor's right hand on fighting the opioid scourge is here with us today to show the governor's support. Clay Stamp is here. He is in charge of all things at the state level relating to fighting the drugs that are killing our people. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate the partnership.
That's part of my week.
Congratulations to you guys. I know it's been a interesting, 12 weeks? 12-week training program. For those of you in the room who don't know, and since it's mostly cops, you all know, but for the family members, this is a really big commitment for us to increase the number of dogs because dogs equal logistical problems for the police department. But since there is no problem greater facing the police department than that which is posed by this opioid problem, it's a no-brainer for us to sink the resources in, get these guys who are amongst the best crime fighters in the county anyway, another tool to get out there and get after the drug dealers even more. What we're planning to do with these dogs is increase the footprint in the districts, increase our ability to stop cars that we think have drugs in them, get the drugs out and lock the drug dealers up. That's what we're going after. Because these drug dogs are going to be assigned to the Tactical Patrol Unit, it's going to allow us, when we want to pull that pool of dogs together, move it as a chess piece up to Brooklyn Park or over to Western when we know something's going on down in Laurel, or if we're having a problem down at Scotttown and Nick and Shadyside, or if we're having a problem in E-Town at Eastern, we can pull that resource and really bring all our powers to bear on solving the drug problem. So, it's a big day for us. I'm very excited. I know you guys are excited. I'm looking forward to seeing great things on the morning reports. I've already talked to some of the bosses about our first kind of all-hands-on-deck effort, maybe up in North County, so I think you'll see that coming very soon. And I thank the family members for living with the fact that you have now had your loved one take another commitment for the safety of Anne Arundel County, and I know it's going to be a family effort. But I also know the little ones and the spouses are going to love these dogs as parts of the family. So, without further ado, I will invite up my boss, who is the one who authorized me to spend the money that had not been budgeted for to do this, County Executive Stephen R. Shue. Thank you, boss.
Thanks, Appreciate it. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for everything you do throughout the year to keep our community safe and for making Anne Arundel County the safest large jurisdiction in the state of Maryland, and it's because of you. Now, for most of our citizens, our dogs are our companions and loved members of our families, but for the men and women of blue here in Anne Arundel County, dogs are also loved, but they're also very much part of our public safety infrastructure. These dogs perform incredibly important roles of tracking criminals, finding narcotics, finding bombs, explosives, innumerable other tasks. And the amount of time and effort that goes into training these dogs and preparing them to perform their important public safety functions is rather amazing. 12 weeks of training, 350 hours for the dog and for the officer assigned to that dog. And the initial going-in cost is $5,000 to $7,000 even before giving effect to all that training and time. So rather incredible. We have 4 graduates today, I understand, 4 graduates from the class, and that'll bring our complement of dog teammates up to 18. So this is a very exciting day for Anne Arundel County, a significant investment in improving our system of public safety. And thank you again for all that you do. It's now my pleasure to introduce Clay Stamp. Clay Stamp is come on up, Clay. Clay is the overall coordinator of the OIT, and he'll go into what that stands for. But his job basically is to coordinate the heroin eradication effort as well as emergency operations generally across the entire state, and make sure every jurisdiction around the state is going in the same direction, that we're sharing best practices and working to keep the public safe. So Clay, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
We appreciate the governor's support.
Thank you. This is the best event I've had all week. Thank you for what you do. You're in the streets every day, and so my background is I'm a paramedic, and yes, I still maintain my licensure as a paramedic. Don't get out there much anymore, so I used to be in the streets with you. Never has it been such a dangerous time as it is right now for your profession, and you know it. I want to thank you for the work that you do. I will tell you that the governor is passionate about this issue. He recognizes that this is destroying lives all over the state of Maryland, and it's ripping communities apart, truly. You know it, you see it every day. We need to bring everything to bear to combat this. And we call it the three-legged stool: prevention, treatment, expanding treatment and recovery capacity for people that need treatment, but enforcement's very important. We have to disrupt and disorganize drug trafficking organizations to try to stem the tide, while we can get prevention programs in place to change a culture, to change thinking, like we did back when, many of you too young to remember, when the Marlboro Man was a hero and we used to get in airplanes and fly around in these steel tubes full of smoke and didn't think anything about it. A whole culture of people said that's ridiculous. And that's what we have to train with our young people. You're on the front lines. I thank you for what you're doing. The governor is fully supportive. Your county executive is fully supported. We're pushing hard at all levels, but we need you out there. And since I love dogs and my wife was jealous that I was coming and I was going to be able to see dogs, I'm looking forward to seeing the graduates. So thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. What you're looking at on the screen is some screenshots culminating in the entire 350 hours of their training. The 4 guys that are graduating today that will be assigned to the districts helped out with the rest of the K-9 unit also. As you'll see in some of those pictures in bite suits, and that was part of the deal they signed up for. I don't know if they knew right away, but they understand it now, correct, guys? So, huge undertaking for us. We welcome the opportunity and the challenge. We're really, really looking forward to see what happens once we get these dogs out in the district. I'd like to thank the 4 district captains for giving them up for that training period. I know you're anxious to get them back, and we're anxious to get them out there working. As a matter of fact, part of their training for the rest of this past week, with the help of all the TPUs in the districts, they've put together an ad hoc all hands on deck and did some proactive police work in the last few days. And these dogs have already proven themselves with several seizures of cocaine and marijuana. So congratulations, guys. We're looking forward to your numbers being turned in. With that being said, I'd like to have Sergeant Tommy Pleasant come up. He's the sergeant of the K-9 unit, and have him discuss a little bit of it and introduce our training cadre.
Hello, thanks for coming out. First and foremost, I want to thank my chain of command, all the way up through the chief, Mr. Shu, for having a dedication and commitment to this venture here. When I started in K-9 3 years ago, we had 9 K-9s on the street. I came in as a drug dog, so we went 5 explosive, 5 narcotics, and now we've added 2 specialty dogs that work in task force through the state of Maryland. We've added these 4 guys. We've added another explosive dog to bring it to 18. So that's pretty impressive when we're a big player in the K-9 community throughout the state. It's not possible without the joint ventures that we come in together with training with various agencies. We have Ken Cloud here today from Maryland State Transportation Authority. Thanks, Ken. Ken's been part of the training with these dogs. He's come out, understudied a little under Brian, and we've gotten our return on investment out of Ken as well. Ken can explain that later. He loves the bite suit, right, Ken? So what I want to thank all the guys in the K-9 unit. It's not possible without these guys. They've welcomed these 4. We've tortured them a little bit. They've learned a little trial by fire. They always have a positive attitude when they come in. It's not possible without our training staff, which is supervised, overseen by Master Trainer Brian Flagg. Brian's been doing this job for almost as long as I've been alive. So it's good for me to learn from Brian. He's got his understudy, Jeff Jackson, who's also going to be graduating today with an explosive K-9 Chaos. So it's not possible without these guys. It's not a Monday through Friday, 8-hour-a-day job. These guys are here on the weekends. They're here in the evenings. We all know what Brian Flake's one more rep means. That means we're going to have another meal and then we're going to go back to training, right? The day doesn't end at 3 or 4 or 5. These guys have put in long hours. The return on investment that we've paid up front for these animals is already starting to return itself and will triple fold, I'm sure, by the end of the year. So Brian Flake will talk a little bit about the training process, and I thank him and thank all the guys in the K9 unit. Come on up, Beef Chuck.
Thanks, Sarge. It doesn't get any more uncomfortable than this. So first, thank you guys for coming out, district commanders, county exec, chief, my commanders. Appreciate all the support. I've been in this division for 20 years and seen a complete expansion of our K9 unit. Going to 18 dogs is something that was unheard of when we first got here. I think I started with 5, and we were called out, and we would hold perimeters, and we would wait for our drug dogs for an hour to get a dog out there because the resources weren't available. And the commitment by the agency to bring these resources to the officers has been something that's been paramount in our eyes, and it's come to fruition with this district drug dogs now. And it's something we've talked about for years, and it's finally been made possible. We appreciate it, and it was a tough selection, and we went through, and early in the year, we were sent down to North Carolina, and we were able to meet a couple dogs. They said, we sat here, and the first thing when they brought this up to us, Sergeant Pleasant and I said, we're going to get 4 gorgeous yellow labs, and this is what's going to happen. We're going to do this. And we went down there, and they brought us out some dogs, and these dogs did not look like gorgeous yellow labs, and they smelled and took multiple baths and everything to get through here. And then they brought out this little guy named Chuck. Well, his name wasn't Chuck initially. It was Piper. So Piper was a little black lab, and he walks out, and they're like, what is going on with this dog? He looks like he just woke up, and we're going to ask him to go find some drugs here. And he walked around here, and all of a sudden he goes diving into a soda machine. We couldn't get his head out of it. He's like, we like that dog. Let's take another look at him. They're like, you don't want to look at this dog. We're like, we want to look at this dog. He's really cool. Piper became Chuck, and Chuck is assigned to our Eastern District, and he is a fun little Labrador who loves to go out here and work. There was K9 Nova, a Weimaraner. I talked to a couple of my compadres across the country, and I'm like, we purchased a Weimaraner. They're like, you did what? Why did you even think of doing that? There's no good ones out here. And we were sitting here on those first couple of days going, this is Nova, and is she going to make it? And Mike was committed to it. We changed our training policies a little bit, or training protocols, and Nova became a little superstar. And the guys were like, why is it so easy for Mike to find drugs? Well, we're sitting here working our tails off to look for this, and Nova was great. And she's been a fun little addition. But everybody's like, oh my gosh, a Weimaraner. The guys just went to class last week, a class where their K9 teams across the Middle Eastern seaboard here. And they're like, hey, introduce yourselves, and what do you have? And they're like, Anne Arundel County Police K9. I have a Weimaraner. People are just like, you have what? So it's a welcome addition. She's a beautiful young lady. You guys will get to meet her here a little bit this afternoon. K9 Kino, German Shepherd, first dog walked out, beautiful dog. And he's assigned to our Eastern District with Officer Keiflein. And initially we're like, this is a big guy. He could be assigned to patrol work, but he just wants to go out and find drugs. Steady Eddie, entire class. Funny story about Kino, Jim's got a twin, but we didn't know that, who weren't close with Jim. But the dog goes home those first couple nights, and all of a sudden his twin walks out, and the dog's like, what is going on here? He came back to work the next day, and he's like, I don't know how to find drugs. I may have taken in some last night, but I'm seeing double. So we administered Narcan real quick, and we got on the way, and he's been good ever since. And then we had K9 Callie. K9 Callie was our 3rd dog for Mason Ellis. Mason Ellis is assigned to our Southern District, and we had a little bit of a challenge here. We were trying to find quality dogs. It's tough when we were under such a time constraint. And went down there, and we selected a German Shepherd. She did really well, new odor, good, but she failed our medical. So we returned her with knowing well that she's going to be taken care of, and she's now a therapy dog or a comfort dog for somebody down in North Carolina. So then we got Mason another dog, a German short-haired pointer. And wow, did that not go too well for us. He's going to be a superstar somewhere, but we had to get rolling. I know we needed to get these dogs out on the street, and then we went down and we had them bring us some Malawas. And we love the Malleys, the German Shepherds on steroids with less brains. They love to go do things. So Mason got a Malinois. We meet all the families before this happens. We go out, the sergeant and myself, and talk to the families, make sure everything's going to be okay, introduce ourselves, what are the protocols over the next couple months, how these dogs are going to interact, because we hire dogs that are crazy. And we went back down with Ruby. The German short-haired pointer went down, and he was really laid back. But when we sent the Malinois down to Mason's house, who has cats, that became an extreme challenge for Mason. Every day we walked in, we were like, Mason, are you okay? And he'd be like, yes, it's okay, but you need to call my wife tonight. So we'd be chasing cats around and looking at like that. So in the first night we went in with Nova to his house. Nova ended up in the kitchen sink. So everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna leave here in a couple minutes, but your dog is in the kitchen sink eating the leftovers, so it doesn't go well. So these introductions to the family are extremely dynamic. Well, then that goes along with all the training. 12 weeks of intense, or I guess we'll call it intense. It's a challenging class. We introduce these dogs. They come to us with no training at all. And they come to us from it used to be around the world, but now it's Provo, Utah, or the crazy streets of Utah where Chuck came from. And we have Mexico with Canine, Lara. But it's a lot of things that go in. So we introduce the dogs to obedience, agility. We introduce them to odor foundation, taking them to a wall and teaching these dogs to be independent sniffers and go out and find the odor of drugs. And we started out with heroin now. It's the new target odor. We kind of started that first, and that was new for these guys. And they worked several weeks of them coming out to find it. And we're just watching the dogs do that. And then challenging the dogs with environmental changes, nighttime training, daytime training, drug sniffs on the roadway, drug sniffs of vehicles, drug sniffs in rooms, exposure to luggage and all this. And these dogs have to do that, and they have to do it very well. And it's been a long couple of weeks, and we couldn't do it without the support of Max Crook, who is one of the assistant trainers that we have, who comes to us from a federal agency, Ken Cloud, who came to assist us and has been with us for several times a week for the last couple of weeks from Maryland Transportation Authority, Jeff Jackson, who has been with us for the entire time. He's working with his trainer to take my spot in a couple of years, so we're ready to get him into this position, and it's going well. So it's been a challenging 12 weeks. It's been extremely eventful for us. We've had a ball, and excited for what just happened on their FTO period this couple of days, and it really demonstrated the proficiency of the guys and their teams. So we appreciate everybody coming out and joining us here today. It's pretty important for us, and thank you again for having us.
Thanks, Brian. One of probably the hardest things I have to deal with is everybody loves dogs, most people. There's a few that don't. And people look at these as pets. Yes, they are pets because they go home and live with the handlers and their families and all, but as you see, it's tough to get close to these dogs, and we want to treat them like our pets, but they're actually a tool for us. And it's a huge undertaking for these guys and their families to get that across. And they have some challenges ahead of them to deal with that aspect. And everybody wants to pet a dog, and it's just a tool for them. So we're looking forward to that. Tommy, come on up. We'll do certificates.
All right, so we'll do it in order here. So each officer that comes up today with their canine partner is going to get a certificate for completion of a basic canine narcotics class. The first 4 guys that we call will get that. Then Scott Hall is currently in a class right now with a new canine partner, Drago. They completed their explosive detection portion with the narcotics detection guys. He unfortunately goes back to school on Monday for about 8, 10, maybe 12. You saw the one more rep thing, right? More weeks of training, and he should be on the street as a patrol and explosives dog by the summertime. June, we're looking at graduating him. And then Jeff Jackson, along with learning to be an assistant trainer, he has a patrol narcotics dog that's currently certified. He took on a second dog, so he rides 2 black German Shepherds in the back of a Ford Explorer and has more dog hair flying over the windows than I've ever seen. But he just went through a basic sniffer school for an explosive dog with chaos. So without further ado, the first certificate that we have here is for
Detective Mike Simone.
This is a canine pin. So what the guys are getting today is a certificate. Good job, buddy. It's Rocky. They're also getting a police badge that the dogs will wear at home on their house collars. So if we have an escape, we know how to get them back.
Detective Mason Ellis.
Good job, buddy.
Detective Dan Reynolds. Who has the favorite dog that everybody wants?
Good job, buddy.
James Keifline. Scott Hall. And Jeff Jackson.
Good job, Jeffrey. You're my favorite student. I said that to everybody.
So that concludes the graduation ceremony. If you'd
I'll take-
like-
Mike has a couple words
Oh,
he'd like to say.
Rocky does. Come on up, Rocky.
I had about 30 seconds to prepare this, but this is a plaque that we got for the K-9 department. It's for the trainers. Sarge won't admit it, but I'm pretty sure that we were the best class that he's ever had. Brian won't admit it, but we are definitely the best class he's ever had. We put these guys through a lot, and we're brand new. We didn't know what we were getting into. I've had dogs my entire life. We've all had dogs, and I did not expect this. There's a lot of stuff that we had to do, a lot of work, a lot of knowledge, and this is just to thank you guys for putting up with us and for teaching us so much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rocky. He's a huge Philadelphia fan. I gotta. So you guys have all your dogs outside? So if you'd like to exit the side door here, they have the dogs outside with their cars. If you'd like to do a little meet and greet and take any photos, you're welcome to do so. And then from there, that concludes the ceremony. Chief?
Good to go. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you all.